Did you really think I was going to gossip about Linda Lee's time training with Bruce Lee? Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel. Welcome to the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast number 220. This is the one about Jeet Kune Do, how much and how long. As you're logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button and feel free to continue doing so throughout the broadcast. If you're catching the simulcast over on the YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. All right, so where were we? We were going to talk about Jeet Kune Do, how much and how long. So this one's based on another one of those epiphanettes that I told you about last week. If you were paying attention, you know, it's when you're just going about your day and then you have this sudden small flash of inspiration or understanding, right? So that's what I taken to call an epiphanet. You know, so sometimes when you listen to some people talking about Jeet Kune Do, right, you realize a couple of different things about them. One thing that you realize is that some people have a very idealistic, perhaps even romantic idea about how the early days of Jeet Kune Do must have been. And then the second thing is they do a lot of projecting like their own thoughts or their opinions or beliefs or like their likes and their dislikes, all this rigmarole when discussing things about Bruce Lee or Jeet Kune Do or answering questions about Bruce Lee, instead of trying to put themselves in, let's call it a Bruce Lee frame of mind, right? So all right, what does all that have to do with today's broadcast topic? Okay, so this is what it is. Let's take a look at a Bruce Lee timeline, right, that I made up for today. So we're told that the first appearance of the term Jeet Kune Do in a Bruce Lee day timer was either January or of 67. I've seen one that says July 67, so I'm not sure the exact date, right? But anyway, but we know it was in 1967. We know also that the Chinatown Institute was opened up in February of 67. We know that the Green Hornet series that was ended in like a month later in March of 67. And we know that Bruce Lee started, let's call it his private lesson career, in the summer of 67. So now fast forward to January, I think it was, of 1970, and that's when the Chinatown School is closed. So let's stop there for a second and think about that. It's a span, chronological span of 3 years, just 3 years. That's the time when people were able to go to the Chinatown School for instruction. And as I've heard it, 90% of that instruction being done by Dan Inosanto, 10% of that instruction being done by Bruce Lee, right? So the question is this. Well, let's make it personal. How many of you listening to this, watching this, how many of you think that in 3 years, anybody can become a martial arts expert? Now, I know that there are some schools that you can earn a black belt, let's say, in 3 years, right? But we're talking about Jeet Kune Do here, people. So the next question is this. How much do you think, let's go back to Dan Inosanto and Bruce Lee teaching between the Chinatown School and then the backyard and private lessons and all that. How much do you think either of them was able to teach over that time period? Group class, private lesson. Do you think that Bruce Lee was able to teach everything that he knew during this 3-year time period? Do you understand what went on here? Right? Because the only question is, it's not how much was Bruce Lee able to teach, right? Because we also have to take into consideration, well, are people understanding, right? It's like if you teach me something, am I capable of understanding it immediately? If you teach me something in martial art, am I capable of of performing it skillfully immediately as soon as you teach it to me, or does there have to be some amount of time needed to convert the lessons into actual skill? So 3 years. Now it's 1971 and Bruce Lee is in Hong Kong doing movies. So now what are the people back in the States doing? Obviously, they would have had to be working out stuff for themselves, using whatever materials they had acquired from, or whether it was from Bruce Lee or it was from notes that they had made for themselves. Because remember this, Bruce Lee did not have a well thought out or a flushed out instructorship program like we might have in today's modern martial art era. Of the 3 people appointed to be Junfan Institute group leaders, right, which is what I call them, do you think that any of them automatically stopped being students when they were given that responsibility? It's mostly a rhetorical question because we know the answer. Of course not. They all had to continue being students and training to develop their own skill level. So none of this early development of Jeet Kune Do took place in a straight line with 0 bumps on the roadway, right? Zero bumps on the path. There was necessarily a lot of trial and error. Take, for example, we hear that Bruce Lee said in a conversation or in a letter that Chi Sao was out. Does that automatically mean that Bruce Lee is saying, okay, none of you group leaders are supposed to teach Chi Sao anymore because Chi Sao is out? Or was that more of a personal thing? For him, it no longer had any relevance or importance, or the same relevance or same degree of importance. Was Bruce Lee saying, okay, so nobody associated with him is to do anything with Chi Sao anymore? I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't answer for him. But I surely think that if someone found Chi Sao, somebody in the JKD world found Chi Sao to still have some kind of relevance, that I don't see the whole coming down with the hammer fist, right? You know, you can't teach Chi Sao because Chi Sao is out or whatever. Anyhow, I say that because one of the things about this, as to paraphrase Chris Kent and Tim Tackett, this animal called Jeet Kune Do, is that it's such an organic thing that you can't ever define it absolutely and come up with an exact, fixed, and unchanging approach to the dissemination of Jeet Kune Do information or Jeet Kune Do knowledge or Jeet Kune Do teaching. That would be 100% against the spirit of Bruce Lee's own approach to his art. Even if in 71, since we're talking 1971, even if he did seek recognition for it as a system, that doesn't mean that he intended to transform it into a fixed system. That doesn't mean that he was rejecting all of the principles and philosophies that had gotten him to that point in 1971, right? Last point, Jeet Kune Do is such a different art from the traditional stuff that a lot of what is taught, or even how it's taught, is influenced by the instructor's subjective experiences, in much the same way that the art itself was initially developed because of Bruce Lee's personal experiences. So the whole thing about 3 years. Now, let's say that let's talk about the private lesson people, right? And because there was a number of them. Let's say they had from 1967 again to 1970, 71 on a private lesson basis. Do you think that in that 3 to 4 years, right? Or even if, let's say you started with Bruce Lee before he moved to LA, right? That your first interaction with Bruce Lee was in 1964, but then you didn't get together with him on a regular basis until 67. So chronologically, you now have 7 years of time spent with Bruce Lee. again, the question is this: do you think it takes 7 years? How long do you think it takes for to get everything is in the mind of a person like Bruce Lee? How much do you think in 7 years a person like Bruce Lee could teach to someone? Because again, you got to ask, is the person on the receiving end capable of transforming it immediately into usable skill? Think about it for yourself. Any of you who have been teaching for a long time, if you've been teaching for 20 years, ask yourself this, ask yourself and answer this. Have you taught everything that you know? I dare say the answer is no. And you've been teaching for 20 years. Why not? Because in JKD, it's an organic thing, like I said. You are constantly growing and learning and having experiences. And so there's no way that you can say, okay, yes, in 20 years, I have taught absolutely everything that I know, because it's not a fixed system. Now, let's say you have a student who's been with you from the day you opened up your school until now, and that is also 20 years. Does that person know everything that you know? Is that person capable of teaching exactly what you teach, exactly the way you teach it? Have you taught that person everything that you know? No, doesn't work that way. Not at all. So really, doesn't matter how much time you spent with Bruce Lee. Nobody was taught everything that Bruce Lee knows. Nobody can say that everything that they receive from Bruce Lee, right, is everything that Bruce Lee thought about when it comes to martial art, right? That's how I think about it. You guys let me know in the comments, and I apologize again for, I don't know what is going on with the internet in my place. It's always something, especially when I get on the podcast, right? So let me know what you think in the comments below. That's all I got to say about this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D Woods. The I Love Jeet Kune Do Journey Volume 1 available at paypal.me. Let me get it right. paypal.me/UnifiedMA Miami. I know it's a ridiculous thing. Right, yeah. PayPal.me/UnifiedMA Miami. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is we still have the all right. We might be back. You guys, somebody say something in the comments. Let me know if you can see me now. This is more than ridiculous. This is more than ridiculous. This is more than ridiculous. Okay, all right. So thanks, Anthony. Okay, so now, because we got to complete this, right? I go 1, I go 2, I go 3, 3. Wait, screw that up.
Yeah, because you did like this vodka.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I go 1, I go 2, I go 3, I go 4, I go 5, I go 6, I go 7, I go 8. Very carefully, because it's not a good floor for shoes. And kick it.
So you can give us the pill that allows us to psychic someone's face? Can you give us the magic magic pill that gives us the side kick to the face?
Yeah, do it one more.
Reverse, no, reverse crescendo.
Can you show us one more time?
You have to engage in body work. You gotta do all this stuff. You know, I go 1, I go 2, I go 3, I go 4, I go 5, I go 6, I go 7, I go 8, or 7 and 8. Okay?